pretty much. All right, so I'm giving us a half hour to do this, but
I'm gonna throw up.
well, actually, we'll take that back to 20 minutes. I got to give time for your Overwatch minute. So guys, yes, we're having that talk. Let me actually. I know. We have to do it. Give me 1 second here. Actually, oops.
No, it just I know that I'm gonna argue with the internet, and it's not gonna.
Right. No, I mean, like we have to talk about it. We have to.
I have to argue with the internet.
Yes.
Because they're wrong.
All right. So yes, we are talking about the. Let's start just as far as like the timeline events of what happened with Battlefront 2 this past week. Whoa, what the hell was that?
I don't know.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Designed
Give me 1 second.
to
Sorry.
power every adventure. Designed.
Okay, there was some
What
ad.
happened?
There was some ad that there was sound playing, and I was like, oh wait, why is that happening?
Oh, I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Sound was playing. Anyways,
Well, while you're getting that ready, guys, if you're interested in what I thought of Battlefront 2, I did put out my review today, literally about 2.5 hours ago.
mm-hmm.
It's uploaded. Just go search for it on the website, the review section.
Yeah, I'll definitely pimp that out for sure when the time comes. But so yeah, Battlefront 2. Man, that a lot of stuff happened in the past week for EA and for Battlefront 2, and just want to go real quickly the timeline of events that happened. So Battlefront. So this the first. I think the first event I was able to find was EA response to Battlefront 2 complaint is the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. This was reported from.
Did you say downvoted?
Yes, downvoted.
For some reason, I thought you said downloaded. I was like, what?
This was off of finance.yahoo.com and written by Lucas Mantney of a TechCrunch. And just as many as people has enjoyed Nice Goose Island Pale Ale, but they hate the beer. Megacorp AV, he's going to weird places, which owns it, so to is rage palpable against EA, which owns many beloved franchise. But is far less than some of its parts. Today, that dislike is slightly more quantifiable thanks to a comment on Reddit from an account EA community team, which sounds to defend the company's decision to shield popular characters from being immediately available to users who purchase Battlefront 2, which has a worldwide release later this week. And the comment goes, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As of course, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making a consistent adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor the community feedback and update everyone as soon as as often as we can. So that was one of the first things that popped up with the start of everything with the controversy. Then afterwards, as it was most downvoted thing, they were trying to get their refunds back. To which then if the refund button on EA's website was disabled, so nobody who bought the game who wanted a refund was unable to, which then later was reported by thenextweb.com, updated saying that they were doing that for all Origin games. I want to say
I was like, the refund button, like as a whole, was gone for like a little bit, but it came back because people were getting their refund.
Yeah, it was bad timing, to say the least.
It was just very bad timing. It just very, very unfortunate, weird circumstance that it happened at that moment. But no, plenty of people got their refunds for the game after that situation.
Yes. Follow up afterwards on day 3 of this entire situation. They did an AMA, God bless them, on Reddit. And man,
did you read all that, by the way? Because I did.
So I got some of it here. I read some of it, but just to kind of read off a few responses as far as like, because there were a ton of questions, and I'll read the response real quick. Even among game journalists, the progression system sticks out as the clear sore point in what otherwise looks like a very small, very well made game. To the point for many, it is a souring the whole experience. Are you considering radical changes to the system? Is there anything you have decided you won't change? The reply was, I think this concern has come through loud and clear. We're going to continue adjusting the crate system content and progression mechanics to hit a point that gives players a great balanced experience at all skill levels. Working on expanding the number of ways players can progress, putting more control in their hands, and providing more options and choice in the way people play. There's not much in the game that we would revisit to improve the game for as many players as possible. So this was as an example as far as like what they were asking and what they were what responses that were given out. And for the most part, that was actually, I think, in a way better for them. Like, I think that saved some face to some degree. Obviously, you're gonna get tons of people who were just like on there, just like, I hate you, and all the things you've done.
Oh yeah, there were developers that worked on different aspects of the game who publicly were like, yeah, we weren't fans of the progression system when it was first introduced to us, and we're not fans of it now. And admittedly, like, honestly, out of all the things in the game, that's really the only thing I don't like. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people are going to demonize it and say that it's bad. Like, it's really not that bad.
Yep.
I pointed out last night on my stream that I could take all the star cards off, which is what the progression system is based on. And I would be doing it just the same amount at, like, I'd be doing just as well.
Yeah. To follow it up, soon after, they reduced the prices of all the hero cards by 75%. Making it a lot cheaper for people to buy and to get.
The other heroes that were purchasable way too priced up. Like, I'm glad they did that, but I feel like they would have done that regardless of the controversy.
Mm-hmm. Then shortly after that, it was on a Friday. We were starting to notice some things from other people that were tweeting out that like the microtransactions have been turned off, and this soon spread like wildfire, and realized that EA did indeed turn off the microtransactions in the game. To which later they've put out a statement, which they said on their website. Thank you to everyone in our community for being the passionate fans that you are. Our goal has always been able to create the best possible game for all of you, devoted Star Wars fans and game players alike. We've also had an ongoing commitment for consistently listen, tune, and evolve the experience as it grows. You've seen this with both the major adjustments and polish we have made over the past several weeks. But as we approach the worldwide launch, it's clear that many of you feel that there are still challenges in the design. You've heard the concerns about potentially giving players unfair advantages, and we've heard that this is overshadowing an otherwise great game. This was never our intention. Sorry, we didn't get this right. We hear you loud and clear, so we're turning off all in-game transactions. You will now spend more time listening, adjusting, balancing, and tuning. This means that the option to purchase crystals in the game is now offline, and all progression will be earned through gameplay. The ability to purchase crystals in-game will become available at a later date, only after we've made changes to the game. We share more details as we work through this. We've created a game that is built on your input and will continue to evolve and grow. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is 3 times the size of the previous game, bringing to life a brand new Star Wars story, space battles, epic new multiplayer experiences across all the Star Wars era, with more free content to come.
So I want to bring something up real quick, because I remember when that came out, when they put that little press release that you just read now.
Yep.
And there were a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter saying, just social media in general, going like, don't trust them. They're still going to add microtransactions back. They only did it because the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, had to get involved because CNN contacted him, yada, yada, yada. They're only doing it to save face. Don't trust them. And my response to that was like, in what world, in what honest world do you go, hey, they did a good thing, and you immediately still hate it. You still are angry at them. Like, when you as a consumer go, I don't like how Walmart is treating their customers. I hate it. But I still got to go in there because the stuff's cheaper. that's no different than what you're doing with this. You're still going, well, I really like Star Wars, I like Battlefront, and I want to buy the game, but I'm really upset with like certain things. How, well, okay, so express that.
Yeah.
Like here's the fun thing that I like. Here's the fun thing that I think is interesting about this whole scenario. I can't imagine that the shooting mechanic of the game is going to be, because it is not accurate. All guns are not that accurate. They're accurate enough, but they're not that accurate. And why? Because it's Star Wars. None of the guns are accurate. Watch a movie. They're not that accurate. But to completely go, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to check it out. I'm not even going to look at it because EA's name is attached to it. It's absurd. I did the same thing with Call of Duty Black Ops 1, which had arguably one of the best Call of Duty storylines.
Yeah.
And I refused to play that game because I didn't like Activision's shitty business practice. And then one day somebody was like, you have to play with us. So I rented it. And I fell in love with it. And I went, you know what? Treyarch made this game. Regardless what Activision does, it'd be a disservice to myself and Treyarch to completely negate it. Well, you're doing the same thing here. If you go, well, EA's name's attached to it, you're also giving a middle finger to Motive and DICE and the hundreds of developers that worked tirelessly on this game. You have to live with that. You have to understand that knowledge. And to me, that's not fair to yourself, and it's certainly not fair to them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not happy with the loot box system. I'm not happy with the progression system. But at the end of the day, you're only going to know it yourself if you play it. And then don't say to me, oh, money, yada, yada, money, yada, yada, money, because guess what? You had already planned on buying it.
And to add to that, so Greg kind of talked about a little bit with the backlash, everything reached to even CNN, to where then Disney stepped in and talked to whoever was at EA, and whatever conversation they had over the phone promptly made them change or drop the microtransaction in the game in time.
I think the cutting off microtransaction was absolutely a knee jerk, like hit the red button nuke attack. I do feel that EA is looking at it from the same perspective that every other AAA company is looking at it when it comes to the cost of how much it takes to make a game and how much they're selling the game for.
Yep.
I mean, shit, today I saw a Kotaku editor tweet out a whole thing about how the cost it takes to make AAA games now is way too high for what we pay for them. And it's either one of two things. We get rid of microtransactions and DLC, or we pay $90 to $100 for a game. Like, those are the two options we have.
Not to say that has happened before. And then to add to that EA stock price went down 7% on top of everything else. I will say this, because I was thinking about it today and I wanted to actually put out my argument. So here's my thing. So I think that Battlefront 2 would have sold fine without the microtransactions. And reason being is that you're putting out a Star Wars game that people know already and are crazy in love, especially right now when it comes to the movie coming out less than a month away. B, the marketing push behind it, not only from Disney but also EA itself. C, the thing that the main complaint about Battlefront last year was it wasn't the fact that, because people enjoyed it. The only complaint was just like there wasn't enough content, and yeah, there were some other things that need to be fixed, but there was majority of the people were saying like the game is good, we just need more content for it, and they provided that. They did. So the idea of put microtransactions in the game to me felt like it was to be a safe mood for EA, and I think the reason be it is because to me when they put that in there, it tells me that they don't particularly trust the audience they're selling to. They don't trust the core audience. They don't trust.
Whoa! Where do you get that idea?
So no, let me keep going. There's a reason for this. I think that they don't trust the sales of how much they're going to sell to their core audience. And in my opinion, putting microtransactions in is a safe move so that they can make money just in case it doesn't sell well. But I'm gonna list off some.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna list off some games and examples of some games that have came out this year that have sold well and was critically acclaimed, but did not have microtransactions in it.
I don't know why you have to list that off. I mean, it's not necessary for you to list that off.
Oh well, I have it here.
The reason I'm pointing out, the reason I'm saying it's not necessary for you to list it off is because it's absolutely true. And a lot of those games, like a lot of those AAA games, also have different ways that they sell the game. Mario Odyssey, for example, or even Zelda Breath of the Wild. Nintendo does something different when it comes to how they make their games, their AAA studio games. They pile in money from other areas. Nintendo makes an absurd amount of money. They have so many different things out there besides the Nintendo products.
Right.
Not to mention the merchandise.
Right. And there's
Disney could have helped with the production of the game, and then that could have subsidized the need for microtransactions, but that's not how it works with this in this situation. It is 100% EA that has the ability to make the money off of a Star Wars video game product. 100%.
And
the only... Go ahead.
So,
sorry.
I was going to say, like, you're totally right. And I can counter my argument saying that we just literally talked about, was the last show that there were the numbers that were researched by the Know regarding, like, people who hate it, about the microtransactions. Well, they're here to stay because they made a ton of money off of it last year. It was like around like 330 million around that number.
Dude, when a studio makes double what the game costs just on microtransactions, they ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have a question for everybody who hates microtransactions so much. If they're so fucking unpopular, then how come they make so much money?
And that lies the question of the day. Because you could say, like, well, there's a bunch of whales out there that would just buy it and do not have the time to play or grind out to the game, and they just want to get right down to the content. And that's probably one example.
Very, very small example.
Right.
I mean, I know where the money's coming from. I know who's buying microtransactions. I understand the market, or at least I understand it well enough. I know that when it comes down to something in terms of like Star Wars, EA was just trying to make more money because that's what their job is as a publisher, is to make more money. So that way, when they make more money, they can actually maybe just throwing this out here to everybody, if Star Wars costs $100 million to make and then they make 150 just on sales alone, and then sell microtransactions for another 150, that's $200 million that can go to two different completely new IPs that are risky.
Right.
Which everyone wants.
Right.
So when you come at me with how these studios work, and you're just like, oh, they have enough money. They have enough money. What fucking world do you live in where that's not a thing for fucking a production company? Do you think movies just magically happen? No. A studio tries to make money off of films so they can make more movies to make more money. Yeah, OCOs get paid too much. They don't get paid, and they don't get paid that much to the extent that this is a necessary argument.
Yeah. The thing is, though, too, is that
I'm gonna get all red faced and whatnot.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is like for a lot of people, microtransactions. This is also a telling as far as like what companies, how far they can push it. This obviously was an example of EA trying to figure out PR-wise how they handle all this, but at the same time, this also was a lesson for a lot of other video game companies as far as like how exactly should they approach microtransactions. Like we've seen here, like with this example of how big the backlash was when it comes to this game. Now companies are going to go back and see, okay, this is what the backlash was for this game. Now we got to find in between middle ground so that we don't have gamers angry at us as well. So that's another kind of onion layer to this as well, regarding now companies are kind of trying to figure this out as well. And as far as like microtransactions in general, and by you, Greg, and this is something you kind of showed me and I understand now, is like everything is a case by case basis with microtransactions. Some are going to work, some are not going to work. Some are going to be good, some are going to be bad. And
I had the exact same argument, Anthony, when everyone was complaining about DLC,
which is weird. Because like,
well, nobody's complaining about DLC now because it's the norm.
right.
You know, in another 5 years, whatever the new norm is for studios to make extra cash, guess what?
Right. I think I'd rather live in a world where I could play a game and I don't have to pay $50 to play part 2. I don't know. What I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get at is
I
like,
think that's never not going to happen.
like,
You know, Blizzard recently had to release StarCraft in different segments because of that.
right. But they were fully fleshed out games. They weren't like small games that they released. What I was trying to say was that and this is probably me echoing it, but also other people as well. It's just when it comes to microtransactions, is we don't want to impede in the gameplay or possibly the story. Like, we don't want to live in a world where there's going to be, like, say I'm playing Last of Us 5, and then it's like, oh, if you want to see the full ending, or you want to see, say, you know, the next chapter to play the entire game, you have to pay, you know, this amount to play the next chapter.
And dude, 100% agree with you. I don't think that should be a thing. I think that like you said, the story of the first part to StarCraft 2 was its own story. It was the Terran story. And then the next part was it the Protoss or the Zerg? I don't remember.
It was the Zerg and then it was Protoss.
Okay. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. The point is it was a complete story, and then you got an expansion that was another story. That's fine. And in no way, shape, or form do I want to see a future where you get, like, part 1 and then part 2. Unless it's something small like what Telltale does, even though that they're hemorrhaging money now too because they can't subsidize the cost of all the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
It's the future that we need, Anthony. The future that we need is we need studios to start making production companies, the development companies, smaller, have a smaller budget, so that way when they release a game that they can later add content to, it's not costing as much. See what I'm saying? Like, that's where the problem lies. Is a lot of these AAA studios, you'll notice that if the studio has a small grouping of people, it probably won't have microtransactions because it's not necessary. Mm-hmm. But when you have these AAA studio companies, these massive, massive companies that have 100 to 200 to 300 people working on a single game, the games are going to have microtransactions. You know, we could get into the whole conversation about adults being weird when it comes to microtransactions. Again, who in their right mind is buying them as an adult?
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Well, some are out there. You'd be surprised. So,
like, I've defended microtransactions on this many times because I think it's ridiculous to be angry at them. I really do. I think it's just as ridiculous to be angry at them as you would at DLC. Man, it's just it's a nuts. It's just a crazy situation. I know we're over time, but it's a crazy situation to me that nobody's asking the same questions I am. I never see an outlet or people on the internet asking the same questions that I'm asking. You know, like, nobody's asking why do AAA studios have to use microtransactions. Nobody's asking that question. Nobody's asking...
If there was answers to that question, I think we would have a better idea.
There are answers to that question. That's what I'm saying, Anthony. There are answers. But I've given you answers on the podcast before.
I know.
Developers have come out and said, like, no, there's a very clear-cut reason why we use microtransactions.
And there should be
subsidized cost.
And there should be more people like that to come out. But some of these companies and developers that are working on a game don't even give us that. They're only focused on making the game and having whatever PR puts out information.
Realistically, I'd rather them just work on making the game. Like, the biggest problem that I have with this Battlefront 2 situation, dude, is that a lot of people are not going to give the game a fair shake because of this controversy. Just plain and simple, which is downright stupidity to me.
Yeah, and because of this controversy, I think the damage has already been done. Well, to be fair,
it's absolutely already been done.
To be fair, I still feel like it will still sell well because it is Star Wars, and people who may not look into this controversy,
it won't sell as well. It won't sell as well.
We'll see. Was it the first one or last year's one was like 14 mil? That's what they made. That's what the number I saw, or 114 more. Around that number. So my gut feeling, I think it will sell well enough.
My favorite argument that I've seen online so far is that by buying the game now, you're just telling EA that you're okay with these shitty business practices. I was like, by buying the game for $60, you're telling EA that you like Star Wars. That's it.
I mean, technically, you can buy the game and not do the microtransactions. That's another way to do it. So, if you
that's my point. That's my point. You're at best telling them you like Star Wars.
Yeah, agreed.
Which they already know.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, guys. Let me turn off